Good morning, everyone. This is Gayle, and today I have a little project. It's going to be probably in multiple parts. And look at me. I look like I'm organized. It's so nice having this space to work in. I'm going to start by making a little butterfly. Now this is not going to be a fancy butterfly. This is going to be more of a whimsical butterfly. And just taking that to the side. I'm starting out with some Primo wisteria and green and white. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stack these on top of each other. Let's see if I can't get these are all rolled out on the thickest setting of my pasta machine. And see, I've got them all just stacked together. And I'm going to take them off the plastic for one thing. And I'm going to trim these into a rectangle. And I am going to keep these separate, the scraps, or at least try to. Looks like this green is pretty much stuck to the white. And you can use any colors, whatever you want your butterfly to be. It could be fuchsia. Anyway, I'm not going to worry about doing this now. But I think fuchsia would look pretty, or even a bright orangey yellow or something like that. And I'm just going to even up this end. And I'm going to see where, let's see, that's probably a good place to cut to make my rectangle. There. This won't make any difference, but I would like to get whatever this is right here off of my sheet. And what I'm going to do, and you can do this, excuse me, but I've cut my mat. I should have stuck it together on the bottom, and I didn't think about it. But anyway, I've got this now, a nice stacked rectangle. And I'm going to pinch one end, and I'm going to roll this into a jelly roll. Now when you're pinching the end, you don't want it to get any wider. So kind of hold your finger there, because otherwise it's going to spread out like this when you press it. And you can even use your roller to roll it a little bit. Just to roll that one end a little bit narrower. And I'm going to just start rolling. I'm going to, on the thin side, the part we just rolled up, I'm just going to start rolling. And I conditioned this clay last night, trying to be prepared, and it looks like maybe I should have warmed it up a little bit more, because it's cracking as I'm rolling it. And try doing it not quite so much at one time, just do it slowly. Or I may just cut that part off. And because this is not really, like I say, I conditioned this last night, so it's been sitting, and it is kind of cool in here. It got cold here last night. We've been enjoying some very pleasant weather for Virginia in the wintertime. But it got cold, and we keep our thermostat kind of low because we don't like the air to get too dry. Because when the air gets dry, I usually end up getting, me and my daughter both end up getting sinus infections. So we try to keep the air a little cool, but as a result, my clay hardened up a little bit. So it doesn't normally take this long for me to roll it up, but I'm just trying to be careful because I'm trying to mend cracks as they happen. Just go slowly. And these rectangles, see how it's cracked here? I'm just going to mend them. These rectangles were about 2.5 by maybe 6 inches. For those of you that like measurements, I don't. I just do. I just do. And I'm going to roll this to help heal that purple. Maybe roll it with my roller a little bit, just to heal those cracks. So if your clay cracks on you when you're working on it, don't worry, it can be fixed. And these will go away as I finish. And on this end, I'm going to push this end in so it doesn't have such a stark cutoff. And then I'm going to roll it. Now this is Primo, so it should warm up pretty quickly. I'm going to roll it. I'm going to twist it. This is how you soften up an old cane, or like I have clay that's been sitting overnight. When you twist it like this, it kind of gets the inside going also. And I'm going to reduce this down to maybe, I don't know, maybe a little over 1/2 inch, maybe 5/8 of an inch. I don't think 1/2 inch is going to work. It's still a little cold right there in the middle. See, it hasn't begun to move yet, so I'm still going to roll it and twist it. And you hear me use the term move, and you'll know it when you get to it. It's just a wonderful feeling when all of a sudden you can like tug on your clay and it starts to give without any resistance. Just really a nice feeling, and there's no way I can explain it except you can, like, it's now mine's beginning to move. And let me get my little ruler out. Well, I thought I had it out, which I may, and just don't see it because it's not in my drawer. It's one of the things about getting things ready the night before. I don't remember where I put things. So I'll just get a different ruler. I was going to use my little bitty one. But let me cut an end off just to show you what this looks like. It'll also be easier for me to... There, see that? It's probably still a little bit wider than I want it to be. Yeah, this is I need to go down a little bit more. And in order to reduce it, if you can pull on it a little bit and then start in the middle with your fingers and just roll out, and it'll pull your cane out. And I'm going to cut ends off because that way I can tell the size of it. That's just about right. I'm going to leave it the way it is. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this in half. So it was just a little bit shy of 6 inches. So I'm going to cut it at 3 inches. I'm cutting it in half. And this is, I have to cut partially while it's with the... And I'm going to take this one, I'm going to take 1/2 of it, and I'm going to go it down a little bit smaller on this one. And I probably won't have to measure this one because I can go ahead and just compare it, because this is going to be, these are going to be our wings, but I will cut the end off so we can see what we're doing. And that looks about right. So I'm going to take the big cane. Well, first off, I'm going to take some of these scraps. And I think I will use the purple. This is wisteria. And if I had decided this before, I could have left, actually that might be okay right there. I'm going to cut a circle and that's going to be my base. And because it's going to be my base, I'm going to need a hole in it, because that's what I'm going to be wrapping. So I'm going to get 2 of my small little rods. Actually, I probably should cut 2. I cut that too much in the middle. Let me real quick run this through the pasta machine. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm doing this because I'm going to make this little butterfly into sort of a bead. And I'm going to want 2 areas, two holes in it. So I'm going to lay that down. I cut the second circle and I'm going to lay that over top of it. And this is going to be the base for my butterfly. Okay, so now with the largest end, I'm just trying to even it up a little bit. I'm going to cut two slices. That one wasn't a very good slice. I'm away from my body, so it's hard for me to tell when I'm slicing straight. So I've got those 2. One of these, this one is the one that got cut kind of crooked. And I'm going to put these so that they're opposite. The swirl goes in opposite directions. And I'm going to press this up at the top. Now this may be a little large for what I want to do, but I felt like I needed to do this to show you. Do it this large so you could see. And now I'm going to cut 2 slices from the small cane. And again, if you have them this way, they're curled the same. So if you flip one over, they're curled opposite. And I'm going to put those see, do I want them the same as, I probably ought to do it the same, or maybe not. And go press this here, just slightly overlapping the top one. And so this one will go this way. Then I'm going to take the rest, some more of this wisteria. Or you could use any color you wanted, but I'm going to just stick with the color palette that I've got. And I'm just going to that's way too much. Make a little body. It's got air in it. And I'm going to take one of these rods and just kind of make a little indent there. So it looks like, and then I'll mash that in. It looks like he has a head. I'm going to lay it right over top. And there is a butterfly. You see my little butterfly? Like I said, this is a little large for what I want to use it for, but this would make a great center bead for a bracelet, a spring bracelet. But then, in addition to butterflies, I've got another video. There's my. I've got another video. It's an older one that shows you how to make ladybugs. So I thought I would do that. And I'm going to keep all my scraps, because you never know when you might use them in your project. I'm going to lay these aside and bring in my ladybug things. Now here I've got Primo black. I've got this that was rolled out to the #1 setting, which is the thickest setting of the pasta machine. This was rolled out at the 5th thickest, so it was, I've got 9 settings on my machine, so this was like a very good, it's thin without being too thin. You don't want it to be paper thin. I also am using some red pearl that I had left over from a previous tutorial, and I also cut 2 of those. I'm going to make 2. I'm going to make 2, or I could make 4. Let me make 4 just in case. Which means I'll need 8 of the black. And I'll need 4 of the red. Hopefully I can get those out of this one without having to re-roll. It just does fit. I love having this glass surface on my table. It really helps a lot. So again, I'm going to take 2 of these rods. I'm going to take 4 of these and line them up. And if you have a gridded glass sheet, which I do, and I don't know where it is. I meant to look for it before I started. I've got so many places that I tuck things, and I haven't come across my black work surface yet. I'll tell you, for right now, I'm going to line them up pretty close together. You can take your blade just to make sure they're even. And I'm going to press this in. Again, I'm going to make 2 channels. Now this might be different from the last video I did on making ladybugs. If it is, I apologize, but you know, it's hard to do the same thing twice the exact same way. And then I'm going to put this on top and match it up. And I'm going to slide it down a little bit. And I'm going to match this one up. And slide it down a little bit, just to give a little bit of space between the ladybugs so we can work. Press that one on, and I'm going to move this down a little bit. There. And you just press it to make sure that the channel is closed in between your rods. And you can take it over on the other side, do the same thing. Just make sure that, and then what I like to do is to kind of round the edges a little bit. Because ladybugs aren't square. Now, I don't know what color the ladybugs are where you live. Even where I live, they're different colors. There's some orange ones and some red ones. I'll pull this one down a little bit. Okay, now I've got the 4 red ones. And I'm going to cut these almost in half. Not quite, but almost. Leave just a little bit at the end. And then you spread it out just a little bit when you put it on your black. And again, you might want to round it a little bit. And you do this for all 4. You don't have to be exact. I think I was talking about the colors of ladybugs. Here where I live, there's some that are orange and some that are red. So I imagine in different parts of the country you'll have different colors of ladybugs. So that would be the color you would want to use if you want to stick to what's local. Okay, now this is when you want to smooth your edges. And I'm just going to use this tool. I believe this tool came from Harbor Freight. I actually bought it from somebody, but I think that's probably where she got it because I have seen them there. If you have a Harbor Freight near you, you need to check them out. And now's also when you want to check your edges. You don't want clay sticking out. And I'll probably do this a little bit better off camera where I can take some more time. But just take your time and smooth this out. You would do that for all four. And then on the number 1 sheet, I'm going to poke one of these for each of the ladybugs. These are going to be your thick dots, which we're going to roll into the little heads. Now for this, I would not use antenna. And you just roll a little ball. And let me come in a little bit. I feel like I'm still working with my new camera setup. That's a little bit better. And press it right here on the end. That might not be big enough, so maybe you'll use 2 of these. And just flatten it out just a little bit and put it on the end for the ladybug's head. Now if you make these smaller, this is I believe a 3/4 inch punch. Yes, it's a 3/4 inch punch. If you used a 1/2 inch punch, your ladybugs would be smaller. And I'm just going to finish these 2 since I've already got that done. So that would be the head. And then you take this sheet that's rolled out to I would say a thin medium, and punch out 4 for each ladybug. And it had some of the red on it. Evidently the last thing I cut was red, but we can turn that dot over. The reason this is not sticking is because it's on plastic. Ordinarily, if I were cutting this on my glass surface, these little dots would stick to the bottom and I could just pull up the sheet. But these, because they're on this plastic and even on the Teflon, they wouldn't stick. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And at a cadence Is that what they call it? And I'm going to go ahead and cut these since I'm doing it now, but I'll probably, and I'm going to replace this one. I just don't like that with the color on it. I could turn it over, but still. Okay, so then I'm going to look for the side that has the little divot in it from where I pushed it out. I'm just going to press that on there. And I would put two, one on each side. Piece of black got on that. I'm not usually this nitpicky, but since I'm showing you how to do something, I feel like I need to show you how to finish it correctly. When I say the divot, let me see if I can show you an example. Let me get a, well, I just smashed that one in. But can you see, is it focusing enough for you to see that there's a little indentation on the top of that? And it's because your Kemper cutter has this little plunger that pushes things out, and it will leave a little divot. So all I do is I turn it over, so that when I say I turn it over, that's what I'm talking about. And then just try to keep them lined up before you press it on. Oh, some more of these have this on it. Oops, sorry, I just threw my little cutter on the floor. Got a little bit of a notch where I pulled that black off. I'm just going to smooth it out. And there is Ladybug number 1. Isn't that cute? But I'm going to finish these others off camera so you won't have a long video, and I'll be back. Okay, you can see that I have put the butterfly and the ladybugs on a tile, and I'm going to put them in the oven. But before I do that, because I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with these yet, I'm going to take, let me wipe this off, I don't want to get all, I saw some gold clay. I stuck a piece of tape underneath my slit so I can use this a little bit longer. But I'm going to take this small cane and actually I think I'll leave it the way it is. But I'm going to make a series of cuts. Let me cut the end off. See, the green in this side is not together very well. I either have air in it or it's where it cracked. So let me use the bigger one because that one looks fine. So I'm going to go ahead and reduce this down to make it smaller. I don't plan on making any more butterflies. Or maybe if I do, I'm going to make smaller butterflies. Well, that did the same thing when I reduced it down. It must be that that green is a little bit stiffer. I'm sorry, it looks like I've knocked my camera wonky. Well, I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to cut some rather thick slices. Actually, I'm going to take my Marks It tool and I think I'll use this side. This is the 7mm side. And you lay it to where one mark is right at the end, and then you just roll it across. And now I have all these lines to help me cut the same size. So I'm just going to cut on those lines. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. Actually, that's 7, but that's okay. I can do 7. And these I'm going to use as beads to go in between my ladybugs. So if you want to make sure they're round, go ahead and fix them now before you put them on your tile. Sometimes when you slice them, they get a little irregular. And I'm going to go ahead and bake all of these because these I can drill after they're baked. I'm just pressing them down a little bit so they'll really stuck on my tile. And there. So I'm going to put these in the oven and I'm going to bake them for an hour and then I will be back. Okay, as you can see, I finished my ladybugs and my beads. I also made 2 smaller butterflies. I don't know that I'll use them, and the purple is showing underneath this one a little bit, so I may have to do some fine tuning. But I made some smaller butterflies, same technique. I just made everything smaller. Now I'm going to bake these in the oven at 275 degrees for an hour. because I need these to be very strong, and I usually bake things for an hour anyway. So I'm going to bake these and then I'll be back. The ladybugs. And this one, for some reason, just doesn't want to let go. And I don't have, do I have pliers? I do have pliers. Maybe this will work. There you go. These are so slippery I couldn't hold on to them. And let me do that for these too. And they just turn it around. You just have to hold on to it, and these are so slippery. I can't, there you go. I heard it, felt it let loose. There you go. So let me put my rods aside. Matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and put those away. Trying to keep my work area clean. Now, I thought of several things that we could do. We could make a bracelet with the butterfly as the center, and you could put these beads in between. You know, for a nice spring bracelet. Or you could do a watch. Now, this is a Doris jewelry designer. I probably got it at Michael's. There's no price on it, but I probably got it at Michael's. I've had it for years. And you could do the same thing, make a spring watch with just the what are these? Ladybugs. Or you could replace, let's do this. You could replace this ladybug and put that there, so you'd have later ladybugs and butterflies. There's so many different things you can do. And I don't really know right now what I'm going to do with them. So I'm just going to leave these as they are. Or I could use these as a giveaway. I could do that too. Speaking of giveaways, I wanted to talk. I'm finished with this. I hope you enjoyed that. But never mind. You could also use these cutters. These are like flower cutters. They're in different sizes. These are also Kemper cutters. And you could use the same colors. I've used the scraps in the bonus film that I've got at the end of this video. So I don't have scraps to use, but you could have used these scraps and say maybe punched a purple flower and put a green center in it, or you could make little green leaves and put a small flower inside of it. That I think I did on the other ladybug video. So look at the ladybug video. I'll put the link down in the description below so that you don't have to go searching for it. But look in there, because I believe I did a bracelet with the flowers in that. And I had all of these scraps. And you know me, I've got enough scrap. I don't need any more. So what I thought I would do is take all this, and I'm going to chop up this part because it's kind of big. I don't want big chunks of white or green. So I'll mix that purple in with that. And now this is already all mixed up. So I'm going to try to press this into a ball or a flat, something flat. I'm going to use my roller, and I'm going to squeeze it together and make sure I squeeze out all the air. And now I'm going to roll it into a log. And I can feel that there's air in it. It's right there. It's funny how you can feel it. But see, this is what happens when there's air. But that's all right, because this will just make it more interesting. You always hear me talk about squeezing out the air. But anyway, I'm going to take this and I'm going to fold it. And it should be fairly warm from using it. I'll make sure I warm it up a little bit. And just make sure it's nice and warm. I can't tell if that's, it is still air. See how the air just makes it pop open? But you know, rather than rolling it, I think I'm just going to twist it. And bend it. It doesn't look like the same colors, but you know it's going to get lost in here anyway. And I'm going to roll this. Actually, I'm going to cut it in half again. Do it this way because I want it to be wide. I'm going to roll the top. And you can do this as many times as you want as far as the twisting and everything. Since mine had air in it, I just didn't want to do too much with it. Widen it back out a little bit. But you want to make sure your edges are straight. Which starts to narrow down there, so I'm just going to cut that off for right now. Let's make a Natasha bead out of this. So I'm going to cut straight down the middle. And I'm going to cut in the middle of those two pieces. Now these I'm going to lay down and I'm going to move them aside. These I'm going to open up and put next to each other. And my thickness was different, so it's not going to match perfectly. But now you have a mirror image. Oh, I know, I did these. I'll just do something else with these. So then where this center is, you cut those in half. You take this one and roll it over to the side so that you have another mirror image. And you take this one and roll it over to the side, and you have another mirror image, which is going to be thicker again. Where'd it go? There it is. And match them up. So you've got, but the amazing thing is when you do that, the back side also is going to be a mirror image. How that works, I don't know. But I like to smooth out the seams. And I think with this one, see what, it would have been more interesting if I had twisted it a little bit more. I think I like this side as the front, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this down into a point. By pulling the four corners in. That made a little heart. See a little heart right there? And if you want to do the same thing with the top, you can. This is not a pretty top, so I'm going to do the same thing with that. I'm going to bring in the four corners. Just bring them in slowly, a little at a time. And you have a nice pointed bead. What is that called? An oblique? No. It's got a name, this shape. So you can take a rod, which, let's see if I have a rod. Stick it through the center. Actually, I think I'll use my needle tool. Just make sure you're going in there straight. Then go in the other side. And they should meet miraculously in the center. Don't know how that happens. Then you can slide a rod in there. Kind of fine tune your edges and you have a bead that you might use one day. So let's do the same thing with these little pieces. These won't be as big. So let's cut this in half. Open it up. Let's see, you have like a demon there. Then cut this half in half. And cut this half in half. Let this one just sit there. Turn this around and match it up. And then turn this one around and match it up. That looks like a little Japanese type gazebo or pagoda, I guess they're called. And then the back will also be a mirror image, but in this case we're going to use the sides because it's kind of a flat bead. And I think this one I'm just going to get an acrylic block. I think I'll just press these four corners in. Instead of making them pointed, I'll make them flat. Roll it on, actually on all four sides, but don't roll too hard on this one. And again, pierce it in the middle. Go about halfway. Go in from the other side in the middle. And it will meet up in the center. I'm going to make these flat again. You can just play. But see, instead of having all this scrap, now you have something you can, oops, I split it. You have something you can do something with. You might make it into a pendant. Okay, so there's two beads that have come out of this. Let's do the same thing with this one. This will be another thin one like this. Cut it in the middle and open it up. And match it up the best that you can. Your clay will move so you can pull it and tug it and get it exactly where you want it. This time I think I'm going to roll it before I cut it. That's interesting. Don't like it that way. I think I like it this way. Then halfway between the middle seam and the edge, cut it in half again. Leave that one there. Turn this out and match it up on this side. Hopefully with me doing several of these, you'll better understand. This is where it was. See, it was there. So now I'm going to open this up and press this over here, and you'll see that looks like a cartoon face. And there's the back. It's also a mirror image. And I think this one, let me get another block. I'm just going to keep this square. And I can probably get that on the same rod. Just by going up through that middle. There you go. So this one you might want to flatten out a little bit more because you usually mess it up when you put it on the rod. I'll do the same thing with these just to make sure that they're all flat. And there you go. There's 3 beads, and I still have this. So whenever you have scraps, do something like this. Matter of fact, these, what I think I'm going to do is chop them into beads. You can make them round, you can flatten them. But this will give you some accent beads to use if you decide to string these. These are like this. You can leave them square if you want. See, these that are rounded, I'll just make into round beads. Actually, you can make them round and flat. If you don't like round like a ball, you can make them round and flat. So there you go. I'm just going to play. But I just wanted to show you what you can do with your scrap clay and show you how to do a 4-sided Natasha bead. And also how to make accent beads, all out of scrap from one of the other tutorials. So this is just a little bonus I'm going to throw in at the end of the other tutorial, the butterfly and ladybugs. So I'll hope you enjoyed it. I'll do more of these whenever I can. Thanks. But everyone, have a great day, and I'll be back soon with another polymer clay video. Bye-bye.